Well, hi everybody. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Winter League final. Winter League final is a bit of a funny one for me because I'm actually the event organiser, which means that after years of fishing the Winter League final, I still want to be involved. I'm an angler, that's what I love doing, and I still want to fish the match. So running the match and trying to organise 340 anglers across the whole of the Fenland Drain, different venues and decoy lakes is really difficult. Had the idea for the split format a couple of years ago now, and it worked well in the first year, but it was just a bit of a trial. Then we moved it to the winter, decoy and the drains with a split team, 5 of your team on the drains and 5 of your team at decoy. Basically, there's a bit in there for everybody, some carp fishing on one of the best commercials in the country, and then you've got the Fenland Drain system, which is absolutely stuffed with fish, and especially if you can get the pegging right in the right areas, it can be brilliant. So that was the sort of thing I was looking for really when we came up with it, and it's worked brilliantly. It's absolutely worked fantastically well. There's been loads of fish to catch. And it's relatively central. Okay, it's a bit to the east, but in terms of north and south, it is quite central. Quite a way for the guys I appreciate southwest and northwest. They've got a little bit further to come. But if you stick it top end or the other end, there can be 6 hours travelling for teams. So there isn't any of that out there for people. And the idea is, gives people a chance to come. We keep it there for a few years. People get used to the venue. They feel they can compete a bit more because they've been a few times. And that's all the sort of things that are going through my head. And ultimately, I want a great match. Obviously, we arranged the draw and everything and things like that. But that means, from a fishing point of view, I have to be a little bit careful. Now, I absolutely love the drains. I grew up fishing the drains when I used to fish with hot rods. I had some fantastic seasons there. I learnt loads about that sort of fishing. However, I do know it's a little bit of a longer drive from the draw, and I've got to set my box up in difficult circumstances sometimes, and you need time to do that. You can't be doing that if you're running the match. So for me, I opted to fish in the decoy side of the team, and hopefully I could get picked in that side of the team. Fortunately, I did. So I've been to decoy last 3 weeks. Now I've had some 3 mixed matches in the build-up. Had £51 on the first match. And that was on Cedar Peg 3, not a particularly good peg. Felt I made a few mistakes, but learnt a lot, which was the main goal. I knew what I felt was going to be right, and that was going to be to take it steady with pellets in a pot. But I wanted to see if a catapult would work or throw in maggots. I just wanted to play around a little bit. And I caught £50, which was about 4th or 5th on the lake actually. And I thought, well, that's not bad, but I'm sure that could be a slightly better. So I learnt something there. Following match, I drew on 6 islands on peg 9, which is in the corner. I was really boxed in. I had Winnie on peg 8. And to be honest, it was a freezing cold day. But I still had £44, which was good. Again, that was 4th on the lake. Learnt a bit. Caught in maggots on maggots in open water that day when it looked for all the money that dobbing up the bank would be better. You needed to be slightly further into the lake. So learned a bit there. I was quite happy, and I thought, well, okay, we're getting there. Then I drew on willows, peg 10, and that was absolutely horrendous. I couldn't catch anything there. I had £14. There were some small skimmers to catch, but excuse me, to be honest, I didn't really fancy it. And I caught these skimmers for about an hour or so. Felt I'm not learning anything. It was solid with these little skimmers. So I played around trying to catch a few bits. So I actually did feel I'd had a good practice. I'd had a few fish on a maggot feeder that day. And the team had talked about that a little bit. And that was our little safety net, really. If you weren't catching, there was a few fish maybe to be caught on a maggot feeder. So come the day of the match, we all had a few things up our sleeve. Most importantly is the draw. The team who we challenged within our local Winter League, Osset, actually won the Winter League final last year. Great bunch of guys, great bunch of anglers. Good set of draws, fished brilliantly well and won it. And that's what it takes to win these events. So you need a good draw at the draw bag. Of course, I don't know what's going on. I'm recording all the draw as the teams come up. Frankie, our secret weapon, came up to draw. And I didn't even look as I was writing the draws down. I was thinking, like, I hope it's a good draw. I'm not even, you know, I can't concentrate on it. I've just got to concentrate and make sure everybody gets their pegs and everybody gets their set of pegs right. So that's all. That was all good. And when I went to my peg, I started ringing round and finding out if we'd drawn any good. Was interesting. On paper, I thought we had two absolutely terrible pegs. My peg, Oak 18. Oak 20 can be, and Oak 21 can be the best pegs on the lake. But if you're on Oak 18, you might as well not even bother setting up at times. I've seen that peg blank and then £160 come 2 pegs away. So it's a horror because it's right at the top of the lake and I was really gutted with that draw. And James was on U28, which I think is the worst peg on that lake. So we had 2 horrors, but then we had some good uns. Andy Geldart was on Lou 6. That's a screamer. Frankie was on 6 Islands 24, which although it had been poor for weeks, had thrown up a few fish during the week. So that was maybe a chance of some fish. And Andy Powell was on Beastie 29, which is a consistent peg on that lake throughout the winter. So 3 good ones, 2 bad draws. And then on the drains, we had 1 peg in the Turning Bay at March, which really didn't fancy that for Will Freeman. And then 4 pegs that were pretty steady. We had Dave Brooks next to a bridge, 20 foot. So that was what I thought was going to be a good peg, although I fancied the Tench pegs to beat him. So it was looking good. I thought it was a decent draw. It wasn't a poor draw. Let's just see how it panned out. It was a horrible day. It was windy, but it wasn't freezing cold. Not like last year. It wasn't an easterly. It was a southwest wind, but it was windy and it made pole fishing difficult for a lot of us. But there was fish to be caught. I was definitely off the carp. I realised that quite quickly. I fished a tip for most of the day with a little feeder, a little banjo feeder. You know, the Jura banjos, they work brilliantly when you don't want to put loads of bait in. And I caught 2 F1s early, but I never had any bites. I never had any indications. Never had a liner all day, which is phenomenal on that place. But my tip just sat there, and eventually I get one. And I was doing okay. 3 pegs round me were blanking, and I'd put 2 in the net. I then changed to that little maggot feeder, which has been sneaking us fish in hard places. And I nicked 3 quite quickly. Again, F1s. No indications again. Just bites out of the blue, but I did nick 3. Managed another 2 throughout the day, just chucking it about a bit and waiting. Again, just chasing my peg. And then I'd set a little trap down the edge late on and I nicked an eyed about 2.5 pound. And that was my catch. 7 F1s and an eyed. Not great fishing. More to the point, the 2 pegs to my eye right were blank until last 30 minutes and then both snuck a carp each. And the rest of the lake in the middle was a bit better and they'd all caught odd carp. And I was gutted, to be honest. At the end of the match, I thought, well, I'll beat these 2 to my right and that's it. I won't beat anybody else. Worst case scenario, really. Spoke to James Dent on the phone. He was on you behind me. He'd only beaten 1 for definite. So we were just gutted. We've scored 30 points on 2 lakes or so, we thought. James then told me that the bottom end of my lake on the phone hadn't fished great. And he said, look, they have got carp, but if you've got 8 fish, you could have a chance of beating them. I weighed 9 kilos 350 and that actually put me 9th in my 17. So I was really pleased with that because there was quite a few weights, sort of 6, 7, 8 kilos. So that run of those fish really did make a difference. And I was hoping then, and this is what we talk about all the time, with these low scores, I thought, well, maybe we can get a medal if the rest of the team have done okay. Well, the rest of the team hadn't done okay. They'd done absolutely fantastic. 7 of our anglers were in the top 2 of their 17 peg sections, which I think credit where credit's due. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Shows we must have had a good draw, but also that we fished incredibly well. We talked a lot. All the guys on the drains where we scored 11 points on the drains. We had a 6th in Will in the Turning Bay, and the other guys Simon Fields won his section, Dave Brooks won his section, Alan won his section, Matt was second in his section. And they all said if they hadn't have practiced, if they hadn't have put the time in, they definitely wouldn't have finished as high as they did. So I was really pleased to hear that. Andy Geldup won the match on the decoy, and Andy Power and Frankie were both second. Again, this is in 17 peg sections, so it's absolutely fantastic. I was really pleased. And then I had to work the results out, and we've got the big computer, and Gemma Phillips, who does the results with me, she's created a fantastic system which helps us get the results a lot quicker than normal. It's been really, really good, really interesting to see how it was all panning out. Starlets had also put in a fantastic performance. I believe that they'd had 7 anglers in the top 3 of their section. Again, that is incredible. Last year, Ossett won it with 45 points, and I felt anything around there would obliterate it. I didn't think you could be beat with that sort of score. And then, unfortunately, it was really close, and we had 41 and Starlets had 43. I've got loads of respect for them. Great team. But we just nicked it on this occasion. And it just shows 2 points. It's a fish. It's a fish here or there. It's a result here or there. It's nothing in it at all. Unfortunately for Starlets, we snuck it this time. I'm sure they'll sneak it another. So we were absolutely over the moon. Obviously, me as the organiser, I didn't want to let on. I don't think that's fair. So I just, once I'd done the results, came and sat down and let the team enjoy their moment. It's a bit of a weird one because usually I'm jumping up and down and going berserk because I love team fishing, I love the result, and I love to fish in the match itself, but obviously on this occasion I've got to organise it as well. So it was great. Then it was great to see some good results for the rest of the teams. It's not all about the first 2. There's 9 teams get paid out in the Winter League final. I keep all the money for the teams apart from the section winners of the 17 pegs and the top 3 overall. Don't really pay that many individuals in the match because I think it's much better that it's a team competition. So when you're on a peg like I was on or James was on, every fish counts for you. Every fish, every point matters. So you really can keep fishing for your team. And that's what team fishing's all about. There's no way I sat on my box in that win for 8 flipping fish for 9th in a 17 peg section unless it meant something. And boy, did it mean something, because if I'd have caught 2 or 3 fish less, we wouldn't have won it. Okay, and that's the difference, and that's why everybody has to put their all in. You take your good results off your good pegs, which we all managed to do, and then obviously from your bad pegs. Anyway, in 3rd place were Drennan Oxford. I was absolutely made up for them. They put lots of time in on the drains. I've seen them there lots, and I've also seen their guys at decoy. So for them to come 3rd, they were absolutely over the moon. There was other teams in there that threw in the mix. Ossett claimed the last frame place, which I was really pleased for them. And then some of the usual suspects, Maven Midland snuck in there as well, I think. And Devisers were 4th, which was great for them. And that's what the Winter League's all about. It's a bit peggy. You need a good draw to win it. Obviously, there's great teams all over. I know, for example, Dorking, who I consider certainly one of the top 3 teams in the country. They had a terrible draw on 2 or 3 pegs, and that made it really difficult for them to get in the top 10. But that shows what team fishing is like sometimes. But next year they could be the winners, and that's how it works. So we were delighted, absolutely over the moon. Loads of little things there to work out. But more importantly, I'm stood in my garage in my jumper at last because it's not freezing cold. I'm absolutely over the moon. It's warming up a bit. We're going to catch loads of fish in the next few weeks. I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks. I've got the I'm going to watch the Iberian Masters. I've got the Census Challenge final, which is a fantastic event on the Gloucester Canal. And then 2 weeks after that, it's the World Club Championships for the feeder in Spain, in Valencia. That is a massive match for us with 2 World Club Championships this year. 1 in Spain for feeder fishing, 1 in France for float fishing. They are the 2 main matches for me this year, and one of them's coming up very soon. So as you can see, it's team fishing all the way. Gloucester in a couple of weeks, Spain a couple of weeks after that. Can we build on that success from the Winter League final? We've had some great success in the last few years. I really do hope so. Hope you've enjoyed the blog today, and I'll catch up with you soon.